Josh, this is Ray Booth from Cambridge. What time frame would you be thinking about with the local access or the local checkbook? Did you have an idea about that?
Good question. Some of it will be driven by, most of it will be driven by when we get the stage checkbook online, and so there's going to be some growing pains. I mean, I want to keep expectations real. Like, we're going to try to make this thing perfect. As I mentioned earlier, we want to get it done thoroughly and well rather than quickly. But there's going to be some kinks to work out, and there's going to be some growing pains. And so I think the tentative plan is once we get the stage checkbook up and running online, and we've worked out all the kinks, then we'll get the local governments online. But in the meantime, we'll be collecting that local government data, and so we'll basically be soliciting these local governments to send us their information. And once we get the state worked out and the kinks worked out, we'll get the local checkbook online. So let me give you a ballpark timeline. Ballpark timeline, I would say, is if we get this bill passed in here in between Election Day and Christmas, hopefully we'll have this thing up and running by the first quarter of next year with the state checkbook, and then local checkbooks maybe by second quarter of next year. Again, that's ballpark. It could be sooner, it could be later, but I'd say that's ballpark.
Now the local funds, would that be? I got the impression from what you said that would be voluntary on their part to provide that, or do you already have that?
No, see, we do not have access to the local information, so it'll be voluntary. But here's my plan. My plan is to go to the local governments and ask them, basically say, listen, this information is already a matter of public record. All we're doing is leveraging technology to take information that's already a matter of public record and using that technology to make it accessible to the people. And I'm going to explain that to these local governments. And if we get a bunch of city councils and county commissioners and school boards that refuse to give it, I'm going to go back to the legislature and ask the legislature to make them give it. So, I guess the plan is do it voluntarily, on a voluntary basis at first, ask nicely, and basically explain to these local governments, like, this is information that's already a matter of public record. All we're asking you to give it to us, and then we'll use technology to make it accessible and searchable and be analyzed by the public and by journalists. But if we have, my hope is they'll all say, yes, here you go. But if we have a bunch of them who say no, whether it's in Cambridge, Ohio, or Toledo, Ohio, or Worcester, or wherever, then I'm going to go back to the legislature. I'm going to say, listen, these local governments are trying to hide this information that's already a matter of public record. Can you make them do it as well?
Will this work be done by your department, or will it be done by an outside vendor?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Can you repeat it?
Will the work on this be done within your office or by an outside vendor?
My office has engaged outside vendors, and so it's a team effort. I mean, there's a lot of people in my office who are working on the project, but they've also engaged outside vendors to help build this thing, to make sure that it can maintain all this data. So it's a team effort between our office and outside vendors. And that's where the cost I was talking about. We think this is going to cost about 10% of the money we've saved over the past 6 years. Somewhere in that $500,000 to $600,000 range. Ballpark. A lot of that is building the infrastructure and engaging the outside vendors.